Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Connected Live. As you can see, I'm in my rocking chair in my office, which I'm still working on the decor, but I have the lighting of the camera done well, so I'm pleased about that. This Connected Live is a little bit all over the place, so I apologize in advance. What happens, with connected energy sessions? What is connected energy? Connected energy is a way of helping people heal. It heals because it connects people, or more accurately, wakes people up to the connection that they already have that has just laid dormant because of how society operates. And so when people work with me, we have solutions to emotional, physical issues because we address the energetic, the emotional, and the physical. We do all three. And that's what makes my work so different from everybody else. You work on the energetic, the emotional, and the physical. It is the three-legged stool of health. And so typically what will happen is people will find out I work with animals. They want to put me in a box. So either they find out about me because of animal communication, energetic medicine, or mediumship, or they find out actually through other business people that I am very, very good at business because of my business background and education. So with that said, everybody kind of tries to put me in a box, and this kind of happened in Hollywood as well. Well, what are you? Are you an animal communicator? Are you a medium? What is a healer? We've seen some more of those show up on TV shows, which don't last very long, unfortunately. But someone who works at the level that I work with on the energetic, on the emotional side, and the physical side is able to show an individual, whether they come to me for whatever issue it is that they come to me, how everything is connected, and it becomes like a domino effect. So say they come for my help with their horse, their animal companion. They soon find, because it's not just a conversation about the animal companion's issue. There is the connection between why are you paired with that animal? How did you guys come about? There's the issue, how that doubles back to the individual, the situation, and what the opportunity for lessons are to move forward in a positive way, which allows for evolution and connection, making life so much richer, making your relationship so much deeper, and opening your eyes, the awareness of bad situations, whether they're health, business, personal, do not occur in order to create harm. I know we get lost in that because we get lost in the grief and in the sorrow of a tragic diagnosis like cancer, or a bankruptcy, or a divorce, or problems, with money and so forth and so on. And so we get stuck in the moment of the suffering, and we can either stay in that suffering, or we can look at what are the lessons here. Why did these things have to come about in order to push us forward? They're rough lessons, but they're never lessons that are, the purpose of them is never to create suffering and unhappiness. The purpose is you weren't listening, and this is the way it manifested in your life in order to help you. Every single person that I've worked with a major disease, whether it's MS, ALS, other types of cancer, bipolar disorder, really tragic things that really, fibromyalgia, tragic accidents where there are physical disabilities, extreme anxiety, depression problems. After working with me for a while, people will say, we get it. But for this happening, all the stuff that has come up in our session work wouldn't have happened. And my life, even though we're dealing with this problem, the quality of my life is so much higher. So a lot of times when people come to me with a major problem, and I'll use illness as an example, can you prolong the life of myself or my animal companion. We're not looking, healing takes many different forms, and what that looks like may not be the definition. That's why I'm as respected as I am, because I'm really good at giving context when people work with me. I don't make promises that I can't keep. As a matter of fact, I probably will under-promise, over-deliver. Let's get those words twisted. Because I don't want to disappoint people. That's Baldor. We probably have a delivery, so sorry for the barking. Thor joins in as his backup, so you might hear Thor's voice in a few minutes. So how does this relate to animals? Okay, so I'm going to use an example without using names of a current client. And then I'll actually double it back to my own life so that you guys know that I actually do walk the talk. So an individual came to me with an illness in their animal that was so horrific that when I felt it, I really was very skeptical about how much I could do as far as longevity. And I was I'm very direct. I was raised in the Northeast. I am emotionally literate, but I will be very direct with people. And I gave this person a lot of context and saw, and said, do you want to proceed? And the work that I did contradicted what the vets were saying. And I said, well, let's get a new vet, let's test and see what the blood work comes out with. Because I am a very practical energetic medicine person with all these wonderful gifts. I will go back and say, let's get a baseline blood work. Let's take a look at if what I'm getting is correct, because if it is this serious, then we're actually going to need help from a veterinarian who's honest and qualified to help support the animal in question. So as it turns out, the numbers of toxicity in the blood were off the mark. The two major illnesses that I indicated were actually there, to the shock of the veterinarian, who knows me. I was still shocked. But we had to do the blood work, and then my client realized that I did the energy work on the horse, prior to the vet actually making it out there with the meds. And I kind of wanted to cease all supplements because I knew that the medications that were about to be given were going to be very heavy, and I didn't want anything interacting with medication. And so, again, somebody doing my kind of work, you have to understand Western medicine. You have to understand the species you're dealing with. You have to understand holistic medicine. You have to understand the energetics. You have to understand the emotional side, so the psychology of the species, whether it's human or another animal, and what their species is. And then take a look at the individual you're dealing with, because you might have a certain species, you might have a male, but per individual personality does play a big role, and also kind of what that individual soul purpose is here to accomplish, partnered with this human. So what they saw was immediately after doing the session, I said horse already, so I'll say horse. The horse was able to stand. The neurological problems left. The horse was no longer like falling over. And I warned my client, this is a Band-Aid. We've got to address the physical as fast as possible. Get that vet out there. Get the medication started. Let's move. The only thing I did say that I wanted to make sure was being used, because of the level of antibiotics that was going to be needed, was probiotics. The probiotics were really, really important because sometimes, you give these powerful antibiotics on horses that are already compromised, and a lot of traditional vets won't do a loading dose of probiotics. And then we get colic. And, I had to deal with this issue even with a major veterinary center for equines a few years back in the Northeast, one of the best, sorry about that, knocked my camera. related to University of Pennsylvania, and I actually got into a little bit of an argument with the vets there. I was like, you cannot use this level of antibiotic and not have the horses on probiotics, with it. You just can't. You're going to end up with colic. I can feel it from these individuals. Well, they didn't listen to me, and yes, the horses ended up with colic, causing another problem. So then they all shut up and they started listening to me. So I'm very careful about what could interact with individuals and what won't interact. And so we had to really do an extreme situation. But what was fascinating was, from working on the horse, we discovered all of the conditions around the horse that created the perfect storm for the disease, for that person contacting me. And then we looked at the connections with their life, which I just have to automatically do. So sometimes people will look at my fee. I charge no more than a really good doctor or a really good lawyer. I'm actually a little less expensive than really good lawyers today. But I'm really good at what I do. And oftentimes I go over time and I don't charge extra. I just take my fee. I don't sell products. I don't make money from other companies. Like, I had another wonderful, fabulous company that I actually do refer to quite a bit offer for me to become, a representative of theirs, and they would pay me and whatnot. And I said no. As tempting as it was, as much as I could use a boost in income with 3 rescue horses, 1 rescue dog, and Baldur is special needs, and so is my rescue dog. And I'm really kind of like the bench strength of the family with bringing in all the money solely on my practice. So I'm definitely worth every money. I actually ended up I save my clients so much money in the long run. We do less tests because I guide them to the right tests, whereas vets will go, we need to do these, how many different tests, thousands of dollars, and they still can't find an answer. Whereas I can get you pretty darn close, if not spot on, to what we're dealing with, saving you the thousands of dollars. So anybody who has worked with me might go, whoa, that fee. And then they work with me and they said, worth every penny. You're actually underpaid for what you do. Happens with every single client. I've never had a client tell me I'm too expensive after they've worked with me. So the connections between an animal situation usually leads me into the person's situation and increasing that person's ability not only to help their animals, but to help themselves and for their own growth. And a lot of times it's painful because it's like they're going through this shocking thing and they need to make radical changes. But once they get through the radical change and the shock of it, their life opens up in ways they never expected. And a lot of them really get geared towards mission and purpose. And I have another client that's the CEO of their own business. I started working with their animals. And as we talked, the person who's the CEO said, you're very, very eloquent. And your business paradigm and how you have things set up and how you speak, what kind of business background do you have? Because I don't if I listed everything on my website, it would get a little long. And I'll laugh and I'll say, yeah, I'm traditionally educated, university educated. I speak 3 languages. I was headed for the Foreign Service, the State Department. I was recruited for that. And then I ended up in business and I spent quite a bit of time there at the executive level and I did very, very well, but I was very, very unhappy and I kept getting sick, and that was kind of my wake-up call and how I ended up where I am today, finding mission and purpose. And I love what I do. So when I gave the person my business background and history, they started working with me not only from their another horse, personal health, but then to their business health. And again, thriving after working with me. I had another individual. I work with a lot of professional people. I work with CEOs. I work with lawyers. I work with doctors. I've worked with veterinarians. I've worked with psychologists, and I wink because I love psychologists and PhDs are fantastic. But just to be honest, I don't know how many clients I have that have given up their therapists and their psychiatrists and their psychologists after working with me because they say, my God, you understand more about human behavior and how it connects to everything than the people with the PhDs and all the letters next to their names. And I went, I know. I said, if I had been directed differently in my youth, understanding what my skill sets were, I probably would have pursued one of their avenues. Like, there's a magnificent person who's a PhD. His name is Robert Holden. I believe I have his name right. He has written several books. I recommend his books to my clients. I'm very collaborative. I have really no ego. If I find a good practitioner, I will tell everybody about it. I recommend his books to my clients. That man walks the talk. He understands the energetics part, but he's also a PhD, and God bless him. He went through all that and then created, I think it's called Project Happiness in the UK, and he created a long time ago. He's with Hay House. And I refer to him because the man really knows what he's talking about. And I've seen him speak in person, and I watched him afterwards work the crowd, and I went, somebody in integrity, somebody who has risen to fame, and it merits his fame, and he's doing incredibly good work. So there are PhDs and psychologists and therapists worth their salt, but there's so many out there that, aren't. And people end up working with me because I make the connections so much more effectively to every aspect of their life, including their relationship with their animals. When you wake up to connection, and I say wake up because nobody is really disconnected. You're asleep to it because society has programmed you to think in a box. You don't even realize how programmed we are until people start working with me and the doors blow open to what a pet is and why life situations occur. I've been tested in my own life, and I've had to walk the talk with it. A few years back, many people know that have followed me for a long time on here, I went through a horrific divorce and horrifically in debt, and had to drive cross country, and what I thought was giving up a lot. And how was I going to make things work with Arrow, who I just newly rescued? How I was going to make things work with Baldur? And as hard as it was, and as horrific as it was, I worked the whole way through it because the work kept bringing me back to, there's a reason for this. It's not for my suffering. I had to feel the emotions that were occurring, but I also had to move through them. So feel it, but move through it. And in us doing things differently, our animals will do things differently. Like, people remark all the time on my animals, how really amazing they are. And they're amazing because I never stop giving them context. I let them know what's going on all the time. Like Jack, my young 4-year-old, he is my youngest. I have 2 4-year-olds. I have William, who's the medicine hat paint with the breastplate. They're all 3 are Choctaw Spanish Mustangs, Oklahoma heritage horses that come from Bryant Rickman's herd. Look up the name Bryant Rickman. That's what we've been trying to do, is gain more attention for Arrow's kin, which is his wish, which is why I moved to Oklahoma. Yes, I moved to Oklahoma because a horse asked me to bring him home. He's not object to leaving now, but we still have our mission and purpose for Arrow of getting help, effective help for his kin. So I've tried a few times through the years to get this done, and I have failed, and I keep trying because I know eventually I'm going to find the right situation and get Bryant Rickman more support for what he's doing. And we've actually done a documentary with Arrow that I'm hoping that will actually shine a light more on Bryant's work helping to save Arrow's kin, because they're the original American Mustangs, and the BLM is going to destroy what's left of the wild Mustangs out west, because the American population is just so asleep. We're losing these beautiful horses that are a part of our national heritage, that are a symbol of freedom as much as the bald eagle is. And, Americans just don't care. They're too busy about where they're going to get their next McDonald's hamburger from, or I don't know what. But the apathy in this country, and I'm not trying to minimize it by making fun of it, but the apathy is what has people in the trouble that they're in today. And they don't see that connection. They don't see the connection to the whole. They just see their little moment and woe is me, and they don't see how they participated in the problems that they're currently having all the way to Washington and larger than that. And that's really the purpose of my work, to wake people up to their connection, because, man, you have a connected population, let me tell you, you're going to have a lot of things done differently because people will not be led like sheep. People will not be delusional. People will not be as lost as they are, as willing to believe lies. Their BS meters will go through the roof when they hear it, and they will act upon it. That is what being connected is about. It's being connected on all levels, to the point where you're at a supermarket and you reach out to grab a product and you can't quite put it in your grocery basket because it feels wrong. You're not quite sure why, but it feels wrong. And then you read the ingredients and then you figure out why you don't want to put it in your basket. I've had that happen so many times, it's not funny, and I have to whip my glasses out because I'm getting older and I can't read anymore. I mean, my long distance sight is still like a hawk, but my close vision at 50, it's starting to wane. So I have to take the glasses out, put them on, read the label, and yeah, it takes an extra minute, and I'm running like a crazy person all day long, but I take that extra minute to find out why is it. It's like my hand is bouncing off this product. So connected consumerism is what I call that, and I buy less, eat a little less, and I'm healthier for it, by the way. And so at 50, with no special lighting, no tons of makeup and Botox and all that crap, look at my neck, ladies. It's not, and I have wrinkles, but I'm aging appropriately. Yes, I agree with you, Michelle. The BLM is a joke. They're just a bunch of thugs. And John Cox was on here earlier. If you don't already follow John Cox, COX, he is, man, such a knight in shining armor for exposing the BLM, nonstop, tireless. And he's informed about it, like really educated. He knows the way it works. So please, follow John Cox on his page, because he is doing the most possible to protect the Mustangs out west. I'm trying to save, Arrow's particular herd, because they're actually genetically tested to go back to the Spanish conquistadors, the colonial period of this country. And so Oklahoma has in its backyard a crown jewel, and they're not making the connection that you could have like a sanctuary with 1,000 acres, a museum, an educational center, private, 501c3, not bothering anybody, not on public lands, fenced in, and keeping the horses at a certain number, do a breeding program like Bryant's doing, have Bryant in charge of it, by the way. And there are horses in Europe, from Bryant's breeding program. So, but keep the horses here to a certain number that 1,000 acres could handle, and have the museum, have this educational center with a big theater that we could, do documentary films. Like, I've had this idea in my head for years and years and years, and maybe it'll come true now. I don't know. I just want this to happen, because Oklahoma could have this place that would attract European visitors, American visitors. It could be like visitors to the national parks. You would have to make reservations to come and see these amazing horses that date back to the Spanish conquistadors that were on the Trail of Tears. Use the Trail of Tears instead of something horrible. Shine light on it and make it a lesson that we'll never forget, that shines so bright. It doesn't have to be a dark period. It can be a lesson that we've learned, and we shine light on it, and make it like, hey, this is what we learned. And these magnificent horses also made it through that period of time. And look at them. They are, that courage, that spirit that runs through all of our veins as Americans. They are also horses that are very spiritual horses, tremendous for therapy. I would recommend them for Igala. So anyway, you have this huge revenue capability for a sanctuary with an educational thing that Bryant Rickman should run and be the head of, and decide who would be his successor. And that's my dream, to have that happen. That's why I'm in Oklahoma, because this is what Arrow's goal was from the minute he tried to get me to rescue him 3 years before I actually did it. I took too much time in doing it, which I desperately regret now, but there's nothing I can do about it. I can only act upon things. So when the horse told me to move to Oklahoma, yeah, I moved to Oklahoma. and my business is still thriving. I still have a great following. So my work is really about connection. And no matter where I am, I try to educate people to connection. And it's about quality of life and being present. If anybody promises longevity in any kind of energetic medium of healing, run. Nobody can promise that. Nobody knows how long we're here for. Nobody knows that. What we can do is quality of life and being our best and being connected. If you are a connected person, nothing is going to get by you that is BS or positive, because you will be fully awake and fully connected. Yeah, there are days I wish I wasn't connected, because I can feel things going on halfway across the world. Everybody can, if we just wake up to it. This is what happens in sessions. We work on a particular issue, and then it's just the domino effect. And you need me less and less, which is as it should be. You should need me less and less, only for bigger things that I can help guide on. But in general, my goal is to make people independent, connected, and to spread connection. Am I trying to figure out a way how to teach this? Absolutely. So through the little thing that people will want to put me in a box. Oh, you're an animal communicator. That's sweet. It is a very small piece of what connected energy does. But it is maybe the gateway that someone will find me and work with me. And I do give so much context. Like, I'll give you an idea that woke up a zookeeper, and I've talked about it in the past, but this will be new for some of you. I go to a zoo, and I was there actually because something told me to go there. I'm not a big fan of zoos. So all of a sudden I walk through the zoo gates, and I wanted to go see the elephants because I'm an elephant person. And all of a sudden it's the polar bears that are calling me, and I didn't know which one or what their name was, but I was like, gotta go see the bears. So I left the people I was with and went to the bears. And as I stood there, one of the people I was with found me and said, what are you getting? And basically, and there's no write-up about this anywhere. No one knows about it, so there's no way I could have known, except for a bear telling me. There was a female bear that was so smart and brilliant, and I could feel her, but she wasn't out. And then I saw these two other bears that I could tell were related. One was a male, and he just looked kind of, not your prime specimen. I mean, he was big and all, but he just wasn't very smart. I could barely communicate with him. He almost like he was like completely checked out. Like, for one of the most dangerous carnivores, predators on the planet, I was just like, man, this guy's adult. He'd never make it in the wild. And then all of a sudden out walks this female bear. And she was one of the most stunning polar bears I've ever seen in my life. Just gorgeous with these ginormous eyes. Like if you could call a bear an indigo, this was an indigo. Fully sentient, fully connected. More speech than I can possibly tell you, more than most people have. And she just started talking to me and said, well, they want me to breed with him for the sake of the species. They've brought me to breed with him. And I started to just cry in front of the person I was, because I thought to myself, if someone shoved me in a room and said I had to have sex with somebody to have a baby in order to propagate the breed for whatever reasons to be sold to another zoo, I felt so physically ill at the thought of it. And she did too. She's like, I don't know how to do this. I don't like this bear. This bear is not worthy of breeding with, because A, she's smart. B, her instincts are to breed with only the best, and we're making her breed with the worst because that's all we got. And she doesn't even get to keep, this happened years ago, and I'm like getting misty-eyed. She didn't even get to keep her baby. And as I was whispering to the person about what was happening, a plainclothes person comes over to me and said, how do you know all this? And I said, the bear. And I said, man, she's so brilliant. They don't even sedate her when they examine her. This is an apex predator. And they don't have to sedate her. She is the kindest, nicest, most sentient bear. Like, she's just not this reactive predator. She knows what humans are trying to do, and she's trying to do her part. And the guy looked at me and said, who the hell are you? Nobody knows that. That's top secret. If anyone found out that we did sedate her when we examined her, lo and behold, it was a zookeeper that was off duty. And he just was staring at me. I mean, he was angry at first and then started asking me more questions. And I would ask the bear and the bear would tell me. And there was just no denying I was talking to the bear. And the guy said to me, well, what the hell am I supposed to take from this? Because I can't control breeding programs in zoos. I said, no, but you can wake up to the fact that maybe it needs to be done differently. And maybe it's just not done right. And maybe there's a suffering that you never thought about. And while it's uncomfortable for you as a zookeeper to acknowledge that, how would you feel if you were shoved in a room with an inappropriate female that you didn't know and say, hey, drop your pants, have sex, and procreate? And then people are sticking and probing, and how would you feel? My God, it's serious. It's funny in a way, but it's really serious. And so while I wasn't paid for that session, the guy talked to me for at least 2 hours more, and I sat there. And I shared everything that I could. And I got up, and he looked at me, and he said, this wasn't in vain. He said, I'm not quite sure what I can do, but you're right, my awareness is the importance of it, and then what I do with the information to try to create change within the system. And I smiled and I said, yes. Change doesn't have to be, automatic and massive. It can happen, it can evolve, it can progress, just as long as we're moving it forward. So that's just another example of how animal communication is so much more than just an entertainment. And more than creating longevity, it's truly about connection. It's about connection and how everything connects. So that is my Connected Live for today. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to make comments. I do answer questions in the comments, so please add them. Please share this with other people. I know this wasn't one of my most fascinating because I got a little serious here and there, but connected energy really is about the connection of everything. And if my gateway is a person's personal health, or a business question for guidance about how to do connected business paradigms so that money is made in the best of ways, which will create more money. If you go after money for money's sake, trust me, you may make money for a while, but you won't be happy. That's not the foundation of happiness. Now, if you go out to do mission and purpose and make money the right way, because you have passion and you're creating something positive, you're going to make money hand over fist. And then there are people that come to me for a connection, for healing with their pet. And then the door gets opened that way. And they start to open up and saying, wow, your sessions with my bird have made my relationships with people better. Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's not just about siloing and isolating. It's about making all the connections. So thank you again. You can find me on connectedenergyhealing.com. I'll be making a new website soon. The fee page is where you find out how to work with me, and I will talk with you all soon. And thanks again for tuning in, and please share this with as many people as you can. Introducing people to this work is very important. I'll leave with this. I am looking for a literary agent or a publishing company that will approach me without a literary agent. My first book, Connected Energy, is done, and I am looking to get that book published. A lot of people have said to do the publishing, by myself. I'm self-published, but I've always heard no to that. I'm supposed to get a publisher. So bringing you to New Jersey for my mare. Actually, Michelle, you know what? I work only distance. There's been some rare occasions when I lived in New Jersey that I worked in person, but everything that I do is distance work now. And I'm actually better distance because it takes away the physical and I can use my other senses way easier if I kind of have those tied. So if you want to make an appointment for your mare with me, you can go to connectedenergy.com and we'll work over the phone. That's how I work with all my clients. All those testimonials on Connected Live are all distance clients. Some of them are in New Jersey, some of them are in Canada, some of them are on the West Coast, some of them are down south. I've got people in Europe, in the UK. I've got people in Spain, so please don't let location be an issue. I'll be traveling eventually when the book gets published. So I'll probably be back up in that area for that reason. But if you really have some work you'd like to do with your horse, please contact me on connectedenergyhealing.com. You can make your appointment with me. I look forward to working with you guys. Thanks again, everybody, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.